You're listening to the Outstanding Life Podcast with your host, Johnny D, the motivational cowboy. As a motivational speaker, Johnny D impacts audiences around the world with his message of living the outstanding life. He's a best-selling author, MC, and two-time Grammy-considered artist. This podcast is a place where Johnny D can introduce you to his outstanding friends and share funny, interesting, and heart-provoking stories. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. Here comes your host, Johnny D.
Hey everybody, I'm Johnny D, the motivational cowboy. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Outstanding Life Podcast. Want to say good morning and a big hello to all my friends listening on Dirt Road Radio, KYDT 103.1 FM and KBFS 1450 AM. Today, we are going to have a special guest with us. His name is Paul McEnroe. Paul is an award-winning engineer who developed multiple state-of-the-art technologies during his long career, including more than 2 decades in leadership roles at IBM. He grew up in Ohio, was valedictorian at the University of Dayton, and earned advanced degrees in engineering from Purdue and Stanford universities. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to Paul McEnroe. Paul, how are you?
I'm doing great, Johnny. Thank you very much.
Well, good morning. And I know it's a little bit earlier there in California than it is here in Michigan, but man, what an honor to wake up, doing this podcast with you. So thank you for taking time to hang out with us.
It's my pleasure and honor to be on your program.
Well, before we get into your brand new book, I want to get to know and have the listeners get to know you. You were born, from what I understand, you were actually born in Mount Clemens, Michigan. Is that true?
That's true.
What's the story behind that?
Well, actually was born in an orphanage there in Mount Clemens. It turns out that my parents had come from the coal mining country of West Virginia and out of work in the middle of the Depression, didn't know each other down there. Both went to Michigan looking for work in the auto industry. They were still building a few cars in Detroit, and Mount Clemens is right next door. So they had a romance, and I was born, but they had no money, whatever, and they weren't able to take care of me. So I went to this orphanage and was adopted by people who lived in Ohio. And they became my parents, and that's who I call my parents now. I didn't even know my natural parents. And I had a very nice life growing up in Dayton, Ohio. And my parents, they didn't have any money to speak of or anything like that. They didn't have much education. My dad never went to school, and my mom didn't graduate from high school, but they impressed upon me the importance of education and demonstrated hard work and so on. And it was a very good life for me growing up in Dayton.
Paul, a question that gets asked to me all the time is how can you, Johnny D, how can you be a cowboy from Detroit? And Paul, I'm going to ask you, how can you be a cowboy from Ohio? Now, the listeners did not hear me say that right now you live on a ranch out in California, and the ranch is, I think you said, over 1,000 acres. It's like 1,008 acres.
That's right.
And then you lease another 600 acres from your neighbor. So you have a working ranch of over 1,600 acres. How did a man from Ohio end up being a cowboy?
Well, it takes a long time. So you sort of have to wait for some of your goals. My dad, he was an orphan as I was, and was taken in by farmers in Iowa, another place where, you wouldn't think of cowboys so much. It's heavy farming country. And but he had to run away from a bad situation when he was a teenager. So in 1903, when he was a teenager, he ran away to Idaho. And he learned the Western way of life in Idaho before World War I, which he did serve in the trenches in France. And my mother was out visiting him because her father homesteaded in Idaho. And they met and were married and moved back. And then my mother, they lived in the West for 4 or 5 years, but my mother was from a large Irish clan and wanted to go back to Ohio where the rest of the people, her brothers and sisters, were living. And so they moved back there, and then they adopted me after 20 years of not having any kids. And then as I was growing up, my dad was telling the stories to me of his life in the West. And, he heard the words of Horace Greeley, "Go West, young man," and he did that. It was almost contemporaneously. It was as after Horace said it, of course, but nevertheless, it was the word of the time. And, so he got me very interested in horses and ranching life and the West. And I love topography and the wide open spaces and so on and so forth. And, I just always wanted to be a cowboy, but I went to school and I had to get a job, and then I got married and raised children. And, I did while I was raising the kids and traveling around at IBM, bought them ponies and horses and actually started raising some horses in the backyard. But I didn't really get into the ranching thing until I retired. And when I retired, from the computer industry, so to speak, that's when I bought a ranch. And that was in the middle 90s, and 30 years ago, almost. And so that's when we bought the ranch and moved here. And, I'm very happy on the ranch. I love every minute of it. I'm sitting here in my office, which doubles as a tack room. I've got saddles all around me, and I'm looking out the window. I can see cows on the hills and horses in the valley.
What does your wife think about you still getting on your horse 3 or 4 days a week?
She's kind of worried about that.
Now, was she always, is she a cowgirl or is she more of a city girl?
She is. The wife that to whom I was married for the first 30 years of my married life was killed in an auto accident. And then I was fortunate 3 or 4 years later to be introduced to Tina, my current wife, by my daughter Maureen. And Tina lived in the Santa Barbara area, and that's how we picked out a ranch together and moved here. And we've been married, next year it'll be 30 years now. And so she was actually the queen of the Salinas, California rodeo. And that was back in 1970s. She probably shoot me for saying that. But anyway, she's an outstanding rider. And she was the cowbell of the local area here, and so on and so forth. And she's president of the local historical museum in Santa Ynez, which is the valley that we live in.
Oh, that's incredible. And then you guys also, in 2011, you guys founded the McEnroe Reading and Language Arts Clinic at the University of California there in Santa Barbara. Tell us a little bit about that and why you started that.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's 90% my wife, Tina, and she's a reading teacher and studied that in school and has her degrees in that and so on and so forth. So she wanted to start something up to help people that had difficulties with reading. If you can't read, you can't get anywhere. You can't get through college. You can't be a success in life if you cannot read. And a lot of people, particularly in the area where we are, where there's a lot of English is a second language situation in families. And so the reading clinic is very good at taking young students who are in the first few grades of grade school and are reading 2 or 3 years behind. The situation is that at UCSB, it's a wonderful college, of course, and they teach teachers. And so they teach them how to teach reading, and that's part of what the reading clinic does. But in addition to that, they bring students in from outside the community, and they typically gain 2 years of reading in 6 months. In other words, if they're in the third grade reading at first grade level, they come to the clinic for their session, which lasts the best part of a year, and then they'll gain 2 years in reading. And we've been doing it since I don't know, I can't remember, but it's been more than a decade. And now
2011.
The kids love it, and they're being very successful at high school, and they're off in college now. So it's been going on for some time.
Thank you to you and your wife, Tina, for doing that and giving back. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. So thank you for that. I have to ask, you've gone to some pretty big universities. You're, valedictorian of your college. But I have to ask, what was Paul McEnroe like as a child?
Well, I was just like every other kid, nothing special. I grew up in a little residential neighborhood in Dayton and walked to parochial school every morning and had 40 other students in the classroom and 2 classrooms in our grade. And, it was just a very typical growing up childhood in mid-sized Midwestern city. Nothing special. I did okay in grade school, but it wasn't anything to write home about, I don't think. I didn't get in much trouble or anything. And, I got okay grades. But my dad began to convince me that, boy, it's really important. So when I went to high school, I really did turn the tables, and I did very, very well in high school. I really started focusing on working hard there, and I could see, my dad had worked hard his whole life, and he hadn't gone to school, so nobody ever taught him to read. He taught himself a little bit. He could read the headlines in a newspaper and that kind of thing. But he really convinced me that you had to work hard and do that. And I got jobs just doing little things like delivering newspapers. And then I made a big deal out of it. I started out with 30 customers and I got up to 150 customers. And I was offering all kind of special deals to my customers and so on. And then the newspaper company, Cox News in Dayton, Ohio, Dayton Daily News, they hired me to be a full-time substitute for the gentlemen, adults who ran the newspaper delivery places. And so that was a full-time job. And I got that at 16 in high school and, went on from there. So I had a full-time job from that early age. And my high school was very good. Let me have, schedule my classes so I got off in the afternoons early and I could go to work.
Paul, I have to ask, why engineering then? When you got through high school?
Well, that's a very good question. Actually didn't even pick that out because I wanted to go into engineering. I thought maybe I would be better in sales and management or law and so on. But when I talked to all the people who were in those fields, they said, well, rather than just go and study, pre-law or business or something like that, go get a degree in engineering where you've got a real good technical base and background, and then go to graduate school and get your MBA or whatever you want to do. And so that's kind of the route I followed. I did go into engineering, and I liked it. And then when I graduated from engineering school at Dayton, then I had opportunities to go on scholarships, free scholarships to the top schools in the country. And I thought, well, I can't pass that up. So then I did that. So then I had to put the business part of it off until, another 5 or 10 years after that. So that's what I did. And after you got all that lined up, then you've got an investment in it. So I got nice job offers from nice companies like IBM. And I went there and, then things just unfolded very fortunately for me.
Paul, that being said, you're a cowboy who helped create what we know today as the barcode. Now, those of you that are listening, you're like, did Johnny just say the barcode? Yes, the barcode. I mean, the barcode that has what, Paul, is there like 10 million scans a day using the barcode? Is that true?
No, 10 billion.
10 billion. 10 billion. Times a day. I mean, a barcode literally comes on everything. So how does a cowboy help develop the barcode?
As I said, I learned from my dad several things. In addition to the, education is important. You gotta get to be a decent scientist. An engineer is just an applied scientist, really, and you work hard and you take advantage of opportunities that knock on your door and so on and so forth. And so I just the other thing is you're good to other people, and they're good back to you, and you recognize the importance of teamwork. So IBM gave me the opportunity to start them in a new business, and I got to pick the business. There's a long story behind that is described in the book. I got to pick the business, and so I did pick the business. I picked point of sale for supermarkets and retail stores, so Safeways and Macy's and so on, those different kinds of stores. And I had the background of 9 years of research in IBM before I started it. I started it in 1969, but I had started at IBM in 1960. So I had the opportunity to look back on the experiences I had. Fortunately, I did things like scanning, and we could see that in both of these different types of retail markets, supermarkets and retail stores, department stores, they needed item identification. Well, I knew how to scan. I knew how to do whatever you had to do at the check stand and so on. And IBM had a lot of talent. And so I treated IBM like a venture capital organization, asked for funding. They gave me the funding. I was able to pull together a team. I did a lot of study on what kind of people do I need in the team, and we picked people out. I brought them into the team, and not a big team. We had 6 or 7 guys, depending on whether you count myself or not. And we got down to it. We looked at what the customers needed, what the supermarkets needed, what the retail stores needed, and we created technology that we could mark an item, and we could scan the item, and we could record the data about that item, and we could transmit it around very, very fast. And we could do all of it very, very fast, so that you wouldn't be delayed when you're standing at the check stand. And that was what the world needed at that time. So that's the way it worked out.
Paul, one thing that I did not understand, and I want you to walk us through this. When I was reading your book, I didn't realize that a bunch of lines or I should say what appears to be a bunch of lines has so much math behind it. Why is there so much math? Can you kind of talk a little bit about that? Or am I crazy?
No. I mean, yes. It's just a different form of numbers and of recording numbers and so on. So, yes, they are lines, but they're lines of a different width. There's different kinds of arithmetic. There's digital arithmetic, which we all use. It's based on the numbers 1 through 10 and so on. But there's also binary, which is based on just 1 and 0, or 2 numbers. And so we use sort of a binary type of arithmetic. And it works out that if you need to have 10 digits, which is how many we have in our number system, you can represent 10 different numbers if you can have 2 bars and 2 spaces. You just work the math out that way. So that's what there is. So if you look at a barcode and you look at the numbers below on the bottom of the barcode, you will see that there are 2 black bars and 2 spaces above every number. And some of the bars are of a different width than the others. And so that's what the scanner reads. The scanner reads how the 2 bars, how wide the 2 bars are. It doesn't read them by measuring their width, because we found out early in the game that for inexpensive printers, which we required for the first 5 years of the use of the barcode, before the packages all had the barcode printed on them. After that, it got a lot easier, but it had to get started, and if it didn't start successfully, it would have been a failure. So we had to use these 2 bars and 2 spaces to define the numbers, and we had to do that with bars that were printed in a rather poor fashion. That is to say, some bars were too fat and therefore the spaces between them were too skinny. And so we came up with a barcode that is very good at canceling the errors. It cancels the errors that you get from reading bars and spaces that are made to be wrong because there's too much ink or not enough ink in the printer. So anyway, that's how the math comes in as to what kind of errors you can have and still read. So our code, when compared with the 14 other codes that were submitted for international selection to be the universal product code, we had far and away the best reliability, the best rigor in being able to read the code correctly. And that's the reason that it's very successful. And as you know now, I mean, you can take an item that's even got some frost on it or is wrinkled up or whatever, and it will read it. In fact, we even put such sophistication into the mathematics behind it that if one of the bars or one set of the bars is completely messed up, you can't even read it with your human eye. The code, if there's only one set of bars mixed up, the code being supported by the little computer that's on the check stand can actually calculate what was there before by looking at the other 9 bars. And that's called error detection and correction. So it will then correct it and go back and put the correct one back on so that you couldn't read. So it is pretty sophisticated.
Paul, did you ever think in a million years when you were working on this project with you and your team that it would be as big as it is today?
Never as big as it is today. We did think, so I started this in 69 and it was selected as the international standard code in 73. So 4 years. Now, at that point, when it was selected, we thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be a big thing. And we knew it was going to be international too. So we knew it was going to be everywhere, but it is more everywhere than we thought it would be. We didn't imagine 10 billion a day being scanned and being printed all around the world. That's for sure.
Paul, how did you learn to be a good leader, especially during like this project? Is this something you always knew that you were good at, or is it something that you had to learn?
Well, certainly I had to learn it. I didn't. I don't know. I had good luck. I was. I was. When I started out, as I pointed out, in high school, I had a job of managing paper boys, and what this is that, there's a garage in various residential areas around the town, and they deliver the newspapers there about 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and somebody has to go and pick them up, maybe 1,000 of them, and take them around the newsstands. Then they come back, and then all the newspaper boys, 100 of them, appear, and they each want their 50 papers. So you have to manage these guys. And I did this in all areas of Dayton. So, I mean, it was, areas where all the people, it was a black neighborhood, or it was a transitional neighborhood, or it was a well-to-do neighborhood, all different kinds of people, all mixed up. So I did get to learn to work with all of those kinds of people. And then I worked my way through high school and college. I had a 40-hour-a-week job during my last 2 years of high school and all 4 years of college at Dayton. And so that was good experience as well. And actually, I was in ROTC. I tried to get into the Army, but I flunked out, for health reasons. But I was very strong in what they call the Pershing Rifles, which was a drill team in college, and that's all people oriented. I was captain of the debate team for 4 years in college and a couple years in high school, and that's more working with people and being able to stand up on your feet and having to ad lib answers that have some credibility. And and by the way, I never did find any other engineers doing that. We traveled around the country debating with different schools like Harvard and so on and so forth. But all the other debaters were pre-law people or English majors or business majors or something, not the engineers. So all those things kind of contributed. And then when I went through Dayton, I worked, as I said, 40 hours a week. I worked for Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, which was the development headquarters for the United States Air Force and all the missiles and everything that they had. And so I got 4 years of experience at that, and I was a manager, and I had 10 or 15 students working for me. So I got that before I ever even went to work in industry. And that all helped. And then the people I worked for were very, very good. And the teachers I had were very good at the University of Dayton, at Purdue. They were just outstanding people, and they took time with you, and they helped me do whatever I did.
Looking back, Paul, how proud are you of your team?
Oh, I'm so proud of the team. The team is fantastic. I had great confidence in them. A couple days ago, I was watching Zach Johnson. I don't know if you know him or not. If you're into golf, he was leading the Ryder Cup in Rome, and they had just lost all their matches on the first day. And they said to him, well, what do you think of your team? And he just looked him in the eye and he said, yeah, I'm so proud of this team. And that's kind of the way I feel. And he said that with the same amount of vim and vigor that he would have said it if they had won everything, but instead they had lost. So I had a fantastic team. I had older guys that had experience and had a patent history and so on and so forth. And I had younger guys that were just fresh out of school. And they were very enthusiastic, and they had learned newer technology that the older guys, when they went to school, that technology wasn't even taught. So it was a great mixture. And I did work before picking, before selecting the members of the team to make sure we had somebody at each different specialty that we needed. For example, I picked out George Lauer because he was very good as an innovator, and he could do a lot of different things. And I assigned him to be the key person on the scanner itself and on the code itself. I had a young guy named Roger Kaus, who had just come out of school and was brilliant and had worked for a project that tried to do this kind of thing before and failed. But he had all kind of advanced ideas, and the other part of the group didn't recognize his ideas were as good as they were, I don't think. So that project failed, and I found out what he had done, even though it was a failed project. And he was in Minnesota. I flew up there and begged him to come and so on and so forth, and he came down, was a key member of the team. I picked out two people in communications. One was young enough to be the son of the other one, but they were a team and they worked together and they spoke the same language, and that was invaluable, and so on. And so I was very fortunate that the people were available, and I was able to get them at the right time and bring them all on together. And of course, over time, the project got a lot bigger. It went from 6 or 7 to a couple hundred, but that took 5 or 6 years.
So, you being retired, you're working, on your ranch, you're riding your horse, you're doing all this stuff, you're just hanging out, having fun, and you decide to write a book. And I have to ask, why did you want to write a book? Is it something you've always wanted to do? Have you always wanted to be an author?
No, I never wanted to be an author. I don't even like writing. I'm not, that's that. I like to talk. I'd rather talk than write. In fact, I did talk to write the book. I dictated the whole thing on a dictation computer. But basically, I wanted to I had a lot of fun things happen that were interesting and good stories and exciting in my social life. And I decided to write a book about that. It was all about being a cowboy and about horseback riding. And I did a lot of English writing too. And even while I was at IBM, believe it or not, in the backyard, I had a couple of mares, and I bred racehorses and raced them at Belmont Park and Saratoga and Finger Lakes, and when I was living at IBM headquarters back in New York. And then I've had a lot of activities, all kinds of different activities with dogs and horses and the whole equestrian world. And so my grandkids and everybody, they were all talking, and particularly my wife said, "Hey, you need to write all this stuff down." And she was particularly pointing out about the stuff you've done with the barcode. So I wrote a memoir, and it was about, I don't know, half and half, or maybe even a little more than half in the people area and in the equestrian area and in the cowboy area and so on. And then it had drafts of the book, and so passed it around a little bit. And the comments came back, "Hey, Paul, the whole world is interested in this part about the barcode, but just your family and your close friends are interested in the other part. So you need to just write a book focusing on the barcode." So basically, I wrote more detail about the barcode. I took a lot of the equestrian and cowboy stuff out, but I left some of it in. And so that's kind of how the book happened. It turned out that nothing had ever been written that I know of in describing how the code was developed, how it was created, how it was invented, and all of the complex systems work that was required to support the code. The code is just one little thing. There's a big system that everything that's on the check stand, if you look at it and you think about what's there, you got a printer, you got a keyboard, you got a display, you got an intelligent computer. It's a PC. But this was a decade before the PCs.
Right.
And so that's basically what it was. So I decided, okay, we're going to write. I'm just going to tell the story of how we put together the team, how we got there in the first place, and how it went, and what the problems were, and so on. And there had been quite a lot of misunderstanding on the internet, particularly about, okay, who did what in the world of the barcode. And, there are presidential stories with Bush and so on and so forth. I tell all of these in the book. And there was a lot of misunderstanding. And I decided I better correct all that because, in another 20 or 30 years, everybody that had anything to do with it will be gone and nobody will know. So I did think that was important. So I've been very meticulous to make sure that everything is exactly correct that I did put in the book. So now it's a memoir, but it's got a lot of detail about the barcode in it. And then for the technologists that are really interested in the detailed rigor and the mathematics and everything that most people don't want to bother reading, I separated that out and put it in an appendix to the book. But the appendix I didn't write in the last couple of years. I went back to the analysis that I had done and presented at in 1971 at the National Retail Merchants Association convention in Dallas, Texas. And I printed that article out, and that is the appendix. It's 40 pages, and for people that want to read the math and the science, and to set everybody straight about what was done when, because there's a lot of stuff written that IBM never got interested in this thing until a few weeks before it was selected in 72, and they just selected it because it was IBM. Well, this proves that that's not true, because this is a detailed book a detailed appendix, which was a booklet at the time that was written back in 71. And it shows all the work was already done in 71. So is the kind of thing that is indisputable in setting the record straight.
Now, when you were at IBM, I heard that you met, famous people, but one of the famous people that I'm very, very intrigued to hear about, you met Johnny Cash. Tell us about
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, tell us about you meeting Johnny Cash, and I think you had dinner with him or something like that.
Well, what happened is I wanted to recognize all of the wonderful innovators in the laboratory. And so I have to explain that this happened a little later. So the Barcode, I stated in 69, I started it. I worked on it. It was selected as international standard in 73. And then in 77, we regarded that it was sailing downhill, skiing downhill, sailing with the wind, and everything was good. And so I stepped away from the project. So I had been on it full time for 8 years. Then I went to IBM headquarters for 3 years. And then I came back to Raleigh, and I was honored to be named the laboratory director of the entire laboratory in Raleigh, which is one of the big labs in IBM. We had, when I got there were 1,000 engineers, and I wanted to grow it significantly. And I added more than another 1,000 engineers in the 4 years I was there. And one of the things I wanted to do to motivate people and get them going and everything was to have an award dinner for all of the people that had made significant contributions, either by developing a patent or coming up with a patent or a brilliant idea or some special management thing. So I had this awards dinner, and it was mostly innovation awards. And I thought, well, we need to have more than just a plain dinner. And this is Raleigh, North Carolina. It's not New York City. It's not Los Angeles, San Francisco. So we want to make some kind of a splash. So I was lucky enough to, I got a couple of my secretaries working on it. They called people secretaries in those days. Now they're administrative assistants, but whatever. And we went out and signed up through some lucky chance, Johnny Cash and his wife, who's famous in her own right, to come and perform at that dinner. And we decided to keep it a secret until, the dinner was on, and we were going to announce the guest of honor who was going to be the entertainer. And I got up and said, okay, here's our guest. I didn't even say his name. And just pulled back the curtain that was at the head. We had almost 1,000 people at the dinner, one of the biggest places in Raleigh, and pulled back the curtain and the stage, and out walks in all his black Johnny Cash. And of course, the people just all had heart attacks, good heart attacks. And, he put on quite a wonderful show. So that was the experience. So I did get to have dinner with him that night and got to enjoy, an evening of entertainment. And that pattern went on, by the way, for several years after that. Brought in other people. Was of the fame of Johnny Cash.
What was Johnny like?
Oh, he was terrific. He was fantastic. He was really down to earth. He was all dressed in black, just like you see on TV and so on and so forth. He has a tone in his voice that's just really commanding. And he speaks. You can hear a pin drop, and everybody is very quiet. But he's very interested in people. He was interested in people and how he could help people, and people that were less privileged than others. He had a special feeling for them. He was really fantastic. By the way, the next guy we had, I'm forgetting his name now. Who was the guy that was the really great guitar player on Hee Haw? You remember that?
Oh yeah. Oh gosh, I can visually see him right now. I can't think of his name.
But he was the next one we had, and he was outstanding too, and one of the best string players I ever heard. And he was kind of a cowboy as well. And so now everybody's going to be looking up, who is this guy?
Right.
I'm sorry I brought that up, but I can't remember his name.
Paul, how can people find your book?
Right now, you can order it on Amazon and get it immediately in the ebook version. My publisher is Silicon Valley Press. You can get it from them right now. Just Google Silicon Valley Press, or you can just Google The Barcode by Paul McEnroe, and I think it'll come up who's the publisher and everything, and you can go there and you can get it. And there are a number of bookstores around that are selling it.
Paul, what advice would you give to a young professional wanting to get into the industry of technology?
Either go pick a good place to go, pick a good firm to go. By the way, I like to pick a good place to go where you really enjoy life too, but pick a firm where people have quality. When I did this, so many years ago, you kind of picked a company out and you kind of stayed there for your career. Now people move around more often. That's fine. You can move around more often, but do pick places where there's respect for the individual, respect for the person, and respect for society, and that has confidence, and that will let you have some freedom in what direction you want to go, and will support your continuing education. And then get deep into whatever field of activity that you're really interested in. It's always good to be deep, dig down, and work hard and enjoy it. And I think you'll be very successful.
This question came in on social media when I put it out there that I was going to be interviewing you. This younger person wrote in, and I thought this was a great question. What is the difference between a QR code and the traditional barcode, besides one's square and one's rectangle?
Yeah, exactly. well, but the rectangle, the barcode that you're seeing is the importance there is that it is a single directional code. That is to say, if you look at the code, you read the code by reading the bars from left to right or right to left. You can't read them from top to bottom; they're vertical. So if you imagine you had a little spot of light from one of those pens that you point at at a screen, for example, and you shine that light and you hold it on the left side of the code and you move it across the right. So the reflection off of the code will change when it's on a black bar versus when it's on a white space. And it does that every time it moves across a bar. But it's unidirectional. That is to say, it only works from either left to right or right to left. It doesn't work up and down because then you're parallel to the bars. You're not going to cross the bars. Now, we read the bars without requiring orientation because inside the scanner, unbeknownst to the user, we have an X scan. We have a scan that takes it left and right. That was very complicated. Don't need to go into that detail, how we did that, but that's the way it works. It's just the same as a line is coming across. And the line can either go straight across or at an angle, but it has to go through all the bars. Now, if you take the QR code is different, and I look at it as an extension of the barcode. So as technology in the many years after the initial introduction of the barcode got to be better and better, and you can do more analysis in the computer faster and everything, what they were able to do is to extend the barcode so that not only does it work from left to right and right to left, but it works up and down as well. So it works sideways and it works up and down. So if you look at the QR code, there's a bunch of little squares, itty bitty little squares in the middle of the code, in the bigger square. And so you have so many times more data bits. And so the real difference in the application is that where the barcode only reads we started off with 10 digits, and we had an extra digit buried inside some of the bars for the country code and so on and so forth that you couldn't read, didn't always be able to read. But if you only need, let's say, a dozen or so numbers, the barcode is perfect. It's very easy, very simple, easy to read, cheap to read. The equipment for it is dirt cheap. Everybody knows how to use it. It's going to go on for a long time. But now, if you want something with a lot more detail in it, if you want to put something on a, let's say you want an advertisement and you want to put all the gory details of the product that you've got on there, the barcode wouldn't work because you only got 12 digits. So if you need 1,000 digits or 100 digits or whatever, then you can use the QR code because it's got both horizontal and vertical reading, and each little dot is a data bit. Whereas with ours, each pair of lines is a data bit. So the whole line being a data bit takes up a lot more space than the one little bar. So the QR code, I support it greatly. I think it's a good thing. It's very effective, and it's going to grow even faster percentage-wise than the barcode. I don't think it's going to get to the 10 billion number ever. And the barcode, I think, is going to continue to get bigger and go on for another couple decades at least. But the QR code will grow very much as people learn to put more and more information on it. And they'll be able to make the bars, the little squares, smaller and smaller and get more and more information.
So let me ask you this. What do you think the future is for the barcode?
Well, I think the barcode, will just keep going. People are very comfortable with it. It's in pretty much all the countries of the world already. It's been out there for 50 years. This is the 50th anniversary year of its having been selected as the international standard. So I think it's just going to grow more. I mean, probably in another few years, it'll hit 20 billion, and then maybe even more. But I mean, you're already it's got more scans per day than there are people in the world. Now, the QR code, I don't think it's going to get to those numbers or anything like that, but it will be very, very helpful for people. I mean, I noticed I bought something the other day, a complicated piece of equipment, and there was no instruction manual to it, but they got a QR code. You hit the QR code and it's got enough detail in it that it can refer you to other things. So the QR code will increase by bigger percentages, but I don't think it'll ever get to the numbers of the barcode.
You are so right. It's so funny. I have a new book, going to be coming out soon. And on several of the pages inside the book, I used the QR code, and people can scan it and go right to what I was talking about, to my website, to my podcast, or wherever. And it was pretty cool technology to be able to use. Paul, first of all, coming up to the end of the show here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for, taking time to share your history of you as a man, you as an author. It's just so amazing. But you being a cowboy, I have to ask, and I'll let you go after this, but did you ever have, after all the years of you riding, did you ever have a favorite horse?
Oh, yes. It's a little bit of a sad story for me. My favorite horse died about 6 weeks ago.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But he had a very good life. His name was Reno. And I bought him from a guy named John McCarty, who was, I think, the best horse trainer in our area. He had bought him at sale for the Futurity in Reno because he bought him as a weanling up there, or a long yearling, or just a yearling, and brought him home and trained him here on his ranch. He has a 15,000 acre ranch. I bought him at 4 years old, and I rode him until he was 29, which was this year. And he looked gorgeous. He's a black horse. He was by just plain Colonel. He was well bred. And I rode him for almost 10 years without a bridle. I mean, not never, but I mean, I rode him out gathering cattle on the ranch. I worked him in the arena. I even competed with him without a bridle. He was so well trained. I had a little nylon cord that dropped around his chest, and that's all I needed. And he roped and he cut, and he. And one time, my son came down, and he needed a horse to go in an English competition. He took him into English competition and put an English saddle on him. And on Friday night, I taught him to jump, and on Saturday he won the jumping competition on this horse.
Holy cow! That's awesome.
And my granddaughter learned to ride on him, and he would follow her around like a dog. I mean, she, 7-year-old running all over the place, and the horse is like 3 steps behind her. And, so he was just one of those kind of horses. And he got a syndrome of sweets and sugars and so on and so forth that caused the laminitis. And I didn't want him to suffer and so on. And it's a bad thing. And so he looked just gorgeous. He looked like, my vet said, he could pass for 10 years old when he was 29.
Wow.
And his coat was sleek and everything, but he was going to be in terrible pain with this laminitis. So I had to do the right thing and put him down. So, but he was my favorite horse, and he's buried. We have a pet cemetery here. It's called Pet Cementerio, and he's buried there. And along with a couple dogs and horses that also had great meaning to us.
Paul McEnroe, I cannot thank you enough. The cowboy who helped create the Barcode, author of the brand new book called The Barcode, and I encourage all of you to go and pick it up. Paul, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with us here on the Outstanding Life podcast. Thank you so much. And I think that, I may have to have you back on the show so we can talk some more, because I can probably go for another hour talking with you.
I'd love that. That'd be great.
Paul, again, thank you so much for, sharing your story with us right here on the Outstanding Life podcast. And if you missed any part of this podcast, don't worry about it. You can go to wherever you listen to podcasts and look up Outstanding Life podcast. Hey, I'm Johnny D, the motivational cowboy, telling all of you, be safe, have fun, have yourself an outstanding day, and we'll see you next time right here on the Outstanding Life podcast. Hey, I'm Johnny D, the motivational cowboy. Are you planning a conference, convention, meeting, assembly, or any live event that needs a guest speaker? I would love to be a part of it. For more information, visit motivationalcowboy.com. And don't forget to check out my Outstanding Life podcast every Sunday here on Dirt Road Radio, KYDT 103.1 FM and KBFS 1450 AM. Have an outstanding day.
Thanks for listening to the Outstanding Life podcast. Follow Johnny D on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Motivational Cowboy. If you or someone you know would like to be a guest on the show, advertise, or would like to make a donation, please visit motivationalcowboy.com. And remember to have an outstanding day.